Ta-da! Hi, welcome to Shez Hill again for another one of these videos. I've decided, you might notice, to shave my beard off. Nothing against beards, just it's my body, right, ladies? And I've changed to make myself more difficult to track down. I've moved to the part that's my sofa. Is there telly, Baroness print signed by John Baisley, yep, and a bin there and some weights so I can get a bit of that. Anyway, that's not really what this video is about. I'm excited because I'm going to talk to you about the new album by Lamb of God. That's just a single, by the way, but because it's got artwork, I thought I'd use that to talk about it. I don't know, I've got a stream, so I'm going by memory. New Lamb of God album. First things, let's just lay all my cards on the table. I love Lamb of God. I think they're brilliant. They're one of the most important metal bands of the 21st century. Probably the metal band that kind of crosses over to everyone. They're all metal fans, whether you're a fan of Bring Me the Horizon and Bullet for My Valentine, or whether you're a fan of Slayer and Megadeth. You can kind of get behind Lamb of God. I think that's brilliant. The fact that this record is probably going to enter the Billboard top 200 around the sort of 5 or 6 mark. Even before it's released, is an amazing thing for bands extreme, for the music that's as extreme as this record is. The record's called VII, Sturm Und Drang, which is a pretty bad name for a record, I think. But German in it. Maybe I'm just racist. I don't know. But I don't think that the album title's not great. But anyway, it doesn't matter because it's not about the album title. It's about what is contained within the album. Obviously, there's a lot of people going, well, it's their comeback album after everything that happened to Randy, and what will feature thematically on this record that pertains to that experiences. And I think there are things that bleed into it, maybe not about his own individual experiences, but definitely the lyrical content. A lot of it is about the history of the prison that he was in. A lot of it talks about particularly, there seems to be quite a lot of stuff about the media, and I guess maybe what he found the media's reaction about it. They were never, although they were a huge band, they were never in the public eye as much as they have been in the last couple of years, and the media circus that surrounds it. But anyway, what's the album actually like, I hear you ask? Well, I still think Sacrament is the best Lamb of God album. I think everything up to Sacrament was brilliant, perfect. Wrath, first half was good, second half maybe not so much. I really loved Resolution at the time it came out, and then I sort of listened to it back a little bit, and after a while I realised maybe it was fairly weak, and they took a lot of experiments on that album. They made a lot of different stylistic turns, which some sort of came off and some didn't. I think King Me was a really good experiment, and they'd kind of decided to take one step back, maybe to move forward. I think on this record, there are still a lot of things that you wouldn't normally associate with Lamb of God on the record, but at the same time, it's groovy, brutal, thrash and death metal inspired heavy metal music for the most part, and nobody does it better than Lamb of God. The thing I love most about Lamb of God is that they are a band. If they were a car, when you switch on the ignition, they'd be in 4th gear, and they only ever go up in gear. They only live between those kind of 4th and 6th gears. You never really see Lamb of God easing back into sort of 2nd or 3rd gear, like a band like maybe Metallica or Slayer in their Dead Skin Mask sort of way. It's always on the front foot, pushing, pummeling, and that is what great metal music should be. And I've got to say, the first 4 tracks of this record are an exemplary example of what make Lamb of God such a brilliant band. Still Echoes, you've probably heard. The first single is kind of typical, without wanting to slag it off, because I'm not, it's brilliant, but it's very atypical Lamb of God. It's really groovy, really bouncy, really quite brutal, really intricate guitar parts, drum fills that go all over the place. I'm sure if you've heard that song already, you'll be in agreement with me. It's a great song. The second track, Erase This, again follows it, almost kind of ups the ante in terms of heaviness. It sort of switches wildly between these really fast tempoed thrash riffs and then a huge beat down, and it's got a really kind of memorable chorus. I think considering Randy is such a brutal vocalist, he can write some really engaging and memorable choruses. The third track, 512, again, that's been released as well. That's got a kind of Walk With Me in Hell-esque guitar, spidery riff throughout the middle of it, which makes it sound quite creepy, quite eerie. And then the fourth track, Embers, was the first kind of curveball on the album. That sounds like when Lamb of God are at their best, they kind of stomp, they kind of march, as this kind of glides for a part of it. There's Chino Moreno from the Deftones comes in at the end of this song with a typically haunting vocal line, and you wouldn't normally think Chino would fit that well within a Lamb of God song, but because they've done this kind of quite it's not really swaggering, more gliding guitar part that sort of fits throughout underneath it. There's a real kind of sense of weightlessness to it. And Chino comes in and it does something which Lamb of God don't normally do, but still at the same time, it's heavy, it's brutal, it's great. And at this point, I'm thinking this might just be the best album Lamb of God have ever made in their entire career. But it isn't. Fifth track, Footprints. It's good, it's again atypical Lamb of God, but probably not quite as good as Still Echoes. I think they probably, if they had those two songs together, they would have gone, well, Still Echoes is clearly the better one of the two. We'll put that as the opener to the album. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just, it doesn't hold up quite as well as the other one. And you kind of go, okay, well, the first four are great, that one's just fine. And then there's Overlord, which is the sixth track, which is out now as well. I think they've released that as a single. Which is basically a ballad, really, a kind of Metallica, Nothing Else Matters style, slow one. And Lamb of God have earned the right to try and do things like this in their career. I mean, actually, who am I kidding? Any band can do whatever they want, whenever they want, at any point. You have to earn the right to try a ballad. If they want to do a ballad, they should do one. Doesn't really sit that well with me, to be perfectly honest. It doesn't really work. I think about halfway through, it doesn't help that about halfway through they kind of give up and go back into a heavy bit, and then they go back into this kind of melodic part again. There's a really great ending riff. The end riff of the song is amazing. I mean, if they built a song around that, I think it would have been great, but I'm not really feeling the more melodically inclined ballady Lamb of God, so that was kind of a problem. But the seventh track, which follows it, which is called Anthropoid, is fucking brilliant. And I've got a theory, I don't think I've ever said this before, but some bands, I have this theory about bands where, like, every Dillinger Escape Plan album, track 3 is always great. Lamb of God, track 7 on every album, always great. Broken Hands from Wrath, Black and the Curse of Sun from Sacrament, like, all of their albums, track 7 is always great, and this is no different. This is a real kind of almost death metal inspired riff, and it's almost like them saying, yeah, we did a ballad, but don't forget, this is who we are. And it really, brings the momentum straight back up again. Follows on, there's a song which I think is the one which most references the kind of the media game, called Engage the Fear Machine, which again is brilliant. Just really kind of typical Lamb of God, but with a really great lyric part from Randy. I think, what's the lyric on it? I can't remember any of the lyrics right now, but there's a chorus that made me go, all right, and it's got a really kind of smash the media system sentiment behind it. I think it's great. Delusion Pandemic, the ninth track, again is probably much like the fifth track. It's kind of Lamb of God by numbers, just doing a groove metal thing, which is cool. It doesn't really stand out in this album, but then I think if you put it on Resolution or Wrath, probably would have stood out as one of the better songs on it, which goes to show that the company that keeps within the framework of this album is of a consistently high standard, because there's nothing wrong with that song. It's just, it's not like, whoa, it's just like, yeah, this is cool, and that's kind of the end of it. The last track on it is Torches, which features not only a spoken word piece from Randy Blythe, but also features vocals from Greg Puciato of the Dillinger Escape Plan, doing a much more, rather than the kind of screamy, roary, shitting on stage and bleeding from the head Greg that we're used to. It's more of his melodic part. I mean, I think he's a great vocalist. Like, the comparisons to Mike Patton are sort of well founded, I think, with Greg, and he does a much more melodic part over some of Randy's spoken word stuff, and that as a kind of moving, melodic, sort of somber piece works much better for me than Overlord, which is kind of an out-and-out ballad, and is a really great way to end the album. And I think overall this is a real return to form for Lamb of God. Bon Jovi just kicked the... She's showing off. This is a real stunning return to form for Lamb of God, I think. I think it's got everything you would want, and it's got some surprises as well. They haven't gone too far down the rabbit holes. I think they might have done with some of the experiments on resolution, but it's not Lamb of God by numbers like you might have heard on Wrath. I'm feeling a very strong 8 on this record. Let me know what you think. Are you going to listen to the album? There's Bonjour running around, no respect. Anyway, leave some stuff in the comment section, and I'll probably do Between the Buried and Me tomorrow, and then I'm going to TechFest. So life, hashtag life. Is that how you do a hashtag? Doesn't matter. Bye.